So there was one time that I was invited to give a presentation, and I needed to fly to get there. I had to go to Washington, D.C. for a workshop, and from my past experience, I knew that I needed to do something different in order to get there safely and on time. And unfortunately for this trip, my wife checked out her calendar. You know, she, as an interpreter, she's pretty busy. She's not available to go with me. So I need to figure this out on my own. I had missed flights, I had to change gates at the last minute, all these bad experiences. And at that time I was losing more and more vision, and I was a little anxious about traveling by myself, quite frankly. So I went to the internet, like you always do when you have a problem, and looked up the airport services. And as I'm checking out the site, I see that there's a link for an agency called the Travelers Aid Society. I didn't know what that meant, but it said aid, and that's what I needed. So I checked it out and saw that they provide assistance to any traveler at the airport. And that's it. And I thought, let me just ask them, see what would happen. So I sent them an email explaining my situation and what my need was, that I was going to be flying in, I needed to be able to get to a cab, and that I'm deaf and blind. So I sent off the email, and the response I got back was a simple, yes, no problem. And I thought, it can't be that simple. They asked for my flight information, you know, the flight number, time of arrival, and that's it. So I sent it to them and thought, hey, I've got it all set. Everything should be fine. So in order to get from Vermont to DC, I had to take a early morning flight, 5:30, early. So I don't drive, so I do have a driver who actually works with me whenever I need them to drive. And so the driver was going to come pick me up at very early in the morning. And I'm standing out in the driveway with one lid open, not really the other lid, you know, barely awake. I had to grab some toothpicks actually before I left the house to make sure that I could at least prop one eye open. So I get to the airport, get dropped off. And the airport's half an hour north of me. And I go into the airport, and I'm looking for okay, so I get into the airport, and as I said, it's really early in the morning. Those toothpicks are helping me out. And I'm looking for my gate for the airline that I was using. And I can hear and feel somebody talking behind me, and I turn around and I look, and there's a police officer saying, "Can I help you?" And I gestured, I can't hear, showed him my itinerary, and he guided me straight to the desk that I needed for my airline. I checked in and was going through the TSA security checkpoint. I had to take, you've done this, everything off. The belt, the cane, the tie clip, the BlackBerry, the change from both pockets, the keys, the wallet, the shoes. The belt, the hat. I'm thinking, what else is left? And I get guided through the metal detector. And the staff person tells the person on the other side, this gentleman is deaf and blind. And the guy on the other side puts on, I guess they were latex, I don't know, white rubber gloves. And actually, when I touched the gloves, they felt really icky. I don't know if his hands were sweaty or what, but grabbed my hands and pulled me through the metal detector. And I moved to the side, and they told me to wait right there. My pants were falling down without my belt, which is a little embarrassing, but. And I got redressed, everything back in my pockets. And I, of course, have to get the cane on the right way. Sometimes I put my belt on without putting my cane on first, and then I have to start all over again. But. So can you imagine, deaf-blind? You have to carry all this stuff for communication and for mobility. So it's a little different than other people. I went to the gate and showed them my boarding pass. And they gestured to me where to sit. And I'm thinking, no way, I've done that before. I'm not moving. I'm standing right here. And I will not move. I will not miss this flight. And the lady just stares at me like, you're crazy, guy. Like, oh no, I'm not moving. So finally we board the plane, and I get in my seat. I think, all right, I'm home free now. I'm sitting right, my seat is at the window, but it's in the bulkhead seat at the very front of the plane, and I get to look at the wall, which isn't very exciting, but actually it's pretty boring. So I look out the window, and it was beautiful because the sun was rising. There are clouds. It's a little bit foggy. And once we get above the clouds, it's bright, bright sun. The flight attendant comes over to me, but I can't really see. Remember I told you about the funnel and what I can see? So I just see an eye in my vision. Like, what is that? And then I see a lips kind of grimacing at me, and then they were gone. So I don't know if that person was trying to tell me something or what. I have no idea. And again, maybe this needs to go into the Deaf for Dummies, just to explain. All you have to do is say, if you say, "Excuse me, Mr. Pellerin, Mr. Pellerin, Mr. Pellerin," and I don't answer, it doesn't work. You could say my name 1,000,000 times. It is not going to work. Oh, and with all the TSA regulations now, if I actually touch a flight attendant now, I'm in trouble. I'd probably be put in jail or something to get their attention. Actually, I have a friend of mine who flies a lot also, and he was sitting there, and he placed an order. He was actually talking, even though he's deaf. He does have some speech, and he ordered a soda. And something else was brought back, and it wasn't the right thing. And then it just became this huge communication breakdown. It scared the hell out of the lady that he touched her to say, no, that's not what I wanted something else. It became a big deal. But anyway, back to me. So I look down, and I see that there are several cups in front of me. One of them has Diet Coke in it. The other one has orange juice. The third has ginger ale. And the last one's water. Oh, and then there's one more. Of course, it's a cup with ice. So, and then I look, and also on my tray are chips, mixed chips, animal crackers. What, does she think I'm a kid? What? So obviously, the eye was trying to ask me what I wanted. And since I didn't answer, she just gave it all to me, set me up a buffet. So I put it in my bag for later. So my direct flight landed in D.C., and I was the last to get off, even though I was in the front seat, because I needed a guide. I had to wait until the plane completely, everyone had gotten off. And I was again led outside. Where I was supposed to wait for the Travelers Aid Society person to come meet me. As I'm standing there, I see this old lady with a wheelchair. And the wheelchair has this pole on it with a sign that says Travelers Aid Society. And she wheels it over to me, pulls out a piece of paper with my name on it, and it actually says, "Are you Renee?" And I nod, "Yep, that's me." So she gestures for me to sit in the wheelchair. I'm like, oh man, another point for the Deaf for Dummies. And I say, "Oh, no, I've been sitting enough." I gesture to her, "I've been sitting enough, I'll walk." And so she ditches the wheelchair. She was so sweet, so short, so old. I grab her elbow and just follow her through the airport. We're at Reagan National, and there are lots of people. We go through several different doors. And of course, she takes me on the elevator instead of the escalator. And we're going to baggage claim. And when we get there, the woman gestures to me for my baggage claim ticket. So I pull it out and hand it to her, and she gestures to me and takes off. Now, things were a little dim in this area, but I could see her. I saw her as she was walking away, so I kept my eye on her. If I had looked away from her, I would have lost her for sure. I would have never found her again. But I kept watching her as she was walking away. I wanted to make sure she didn't leave me stranded. So then I saw that she was actually trying to match my baggage claim ticket. And I don't know if she could see any better than I could. She was looking at the tickets on the bag and the ticket that I gave her, thinking, oh my gosh, is this going to be a disaster? But when she came back, it looked like my bag. She had done it. So from there, I needed her to get me out to the taxis. So we get outside, and the very sweet, very short, very old woman gestures to me, "Wait right here." And I think, all right, I'll do whatever you say, lady. And she's looking down the road for a taxi. And sure enough, one's coming, and she's yelling, "Taxi, taxi," and waving for it, and it just keeps going. It doesn't stop. And I see she's getting frustrated. And she says to me again, "Wait right here." I'm like, I'm not moving. You scare me. There's another taxi coming. She does the same thing. And it drives right by. And for the third time, she sees a taxi coming. You know what she does? She steps right out in the middle of the road. Like, wow, she does not play. And so, and it worked. The taxi stopped. And the driver gets out of the car laughing, pops the trunk, puts my bag in, is laughing the whole time. And the woman says, "Hey, this guy, he's deaf, he's blind." And the taxi driver's like, "No problem, I got it. What's the big deal?" And I write on a piece of paper where I'm going, which was actually to Gallaudet University. So he's got it. We get in the car. If you've been in a taxi in Washington, D.C., you know what it's like. The back seats are made of plastic, right? So you slide all over the place. Well, that's what I was doing. If you've been to Gallaudet University, you know that there's a security guard at the front of it, and so you have to tell them where you're going. So the cab driver does it for me. I got this deaf-blind guy, he's going on campus. And I wasn't asked my name, I wasn't asked why I'm there, which was interesting I'm not sure how secure that is, but I get onto campus. And at Gallaudet, which is the only liberal arts four-year university in the world, it's right there in Washington, D.C., not Northeast D.C. And on campus, a fairly new hotel has been built, a conference center, and that's actually where I was staying. I paid the cab driver, thanked him, and he took off. I got there and I couldn't find the door. The building is so oddly shaped, I wasn't sure where you go in. But once I finally found it, I went in, and again I had to get my eyes to adjust because outside it was bright and inside it's not so bright. So very, 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 very slowly, when I got my sight back, I found the registration desk. And the woman is signing to me, "Can I help you?" And I think, oh my gosh, have I died and gone to heaven? This is a hotel where the staff person can sign. Oh, heaven. And so I say, well, I'm deaf and blind. I need you to sign in my hand so that I can understand you. And they did. Easily, happily. Oh, it was great. I was able to give my name, my credit card number, sign it. She even pointed me in the right place for where I needed to sign. It was easy. And then when I was told my room number, they told me to look at my paper because for security reasons they won't do it in public because they don't want anybody to see it. And I actually said, you know what, I can't read it. And then behind the desk, she pulled my hand so that she could sign it in my hand really quickly. So then I went over to she pointed out the elevator to me, and because I was up on one of the top floors. Of course, I'm standing there right in front of the one elevator, but the other one opens and closes, and I don't hear it, so I didn't know. But the light went away, saying that the elevator was there, so I pressed it again, trying to get the light to come back on. And I'm looking the other way, and the one to my right opens, and it closes before I could get there. So I press the up button again, and I stand between the two with my hand on it so I can feel which one's going to open. So I get in, press my floor. And I feel the raised letters on the number 4 because that's what floor I need to be on. I wanted to make sure I'm on the right floor. And thankfully the numbers are raised so I could actually feel it. So I get in to freshen up. It's still early in the morning and I'm there before the conference actually starts. But it's starting pretty soon, so I need to hurry up. And so as I'm trying to leave the hotel room, there's a light flashing. I can't figure out what it is, but then I look over and the telephone is ringing. And in the room is a TTY, which is great. Again, I said I thought I'd died, gone to heaven. And so I type out, hello, GA, meaning go ahead, time for the next person to reply back. And the reply back is, well, how is everything in your room, Mr. Pellerin? And I say, oh, wow, everything's fine, thank you. And then I hang up and I take off to my meeting. Get back to the elevator and do the same thing. I figured it out. I see people signing. Again, this is a conference center that's pretty accessible for everybody. And so then I find out there are other people that are there who are going to the same conference as me. So I get led to the right place. And I'm there for the meetings all day. And we all get together for dinner. Those of us who have worked together, we haven't seen each other in a long time, so we're catching up. And then it's getting late because the very next day I'm giving my presentation, so I wanted to make sure to get to bed a decent hour. So I get back to the elevator, do the same thing. make sure I'm on the right floor, and go into my room. Now, I've already put my suitcase up on my bed, so I open it to get ready for bed. I put my hands right on top, and I realize, wait, where'd this come from? It's a bra. Uh-oh. Oh no, it's not mine. After all that.